All right, Coach, can you start your opening statement just wrapping up last week and going into these two big matchups going into Wednesday and Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, one of those weeks where we had two tough road games and, you just kind of come out of there. Unfortunately, because the loss was the second game, you don't have as good a taste in your mouth. You feel like you kind of let one slip away and you had a chance to get a hard road sweep, which is, we all know, tough to win road games, tough to win them in this league. We just let that one slip away on Saturday, unfortunately. A lot of things that, were woulda, coulda, shouldas, and we just didn't finish. It was disappointing for sure, especially as well as we played probably for about 36 minutes of the game. I thought we, really outplayed them. And then we just didn't get the loose balls when we needed to. We didn't really, we didn't execute always offensively like we needed to at the end there. And, just tough one. Got to pick it up and got to come back. Now I got to play the toughest team in the league on Wednesday night and, get ourselves ready and prepared.
You talked about, these close games you guys have been in all season haven't really swung your guys' way. You think they're going to swing your guys' way just with 7 games left and knowing what's on the line as you guys close out the regular season? Why do you feel this squad can maybe turn the tide, as you said on Saturday?
Well, I think it's pretty evident. You watched the game on Saturday. Who was the best team for 36, 37 minutes? I think it was pretty evident, So just got to get a few things cleaned up here or there. I think sometimes, we underestimate the fact that, we're playing with a sophomore point guard who played 8 minutes a game last year, and, sometimes, those things kind of matter. But, I just think that, we've shown, even the Liberty game, we missed a shot at the buzzer to basically win that game there. So we've shown that we have some talent, and that when we play the way we need to play and we play tough, the thing I've been really pleased and what's given me a lot of hope is the last 2 games, we've gotten back to playing defensively the way we're capable of playing. We gave Louisiana Tech 34% from the field, and we gave UTEP 39% on Saturday night, and that was with them shooting 60% in overtime. So if they don't shoot 60% in overtime, they probably shoot like 34, 35% from the field. So, we're guarding right now the way we need to. I think the 2 things that we're not doing is, number one, we're not rebounding. We got beat again on the board Saturday night. A little bit of that is because we're playing smaller now with Juice at the 5. I do think that's the best lineup right now for our team. But what that means is that our guards are going to have to do a better job of rebounding than they are. And then the second thing that we're not doing right now is we're not executing when we need to. Whether that be the play that we draw up, getting out there and getting the ball to the right people at the right time. And the other thing, like Saturday, I had the ball in the hand of the person that I wanted, and they doubled him, and when he passed it, you got to make a play, and that's part of basketball. You got to make a play. We had a chance to make a layup. We didn't go up strong as we needed to. They get a big time block, and everybody looks at the last play and the shot the kid makes. Nobody ever, it's kind of like fights and skirmishes. Everybody looks at what happened, but nobody looks at what happened before all that happened. And so, the possession before that, before they hit the 3, Jamel had the ball on the baseline where he'd made about 3 out of his last 4 shots. They double him, he passes the ball in the middle of the floor, and we go up a little bit soft and we get our shot blocked. They go down on the other end, they call a timeout with 22 seconds. I know one of the first questions that they asked in the press conference was, why not foul? I don't foul, number one. Number two, you don't foul. There's 22 seconds left in the game. They're not going to take the last shot of the game because they are down 3. They're going to shoot it between 22 and probably 16 seconds. So that's 7 seconds. You don't even foul with 16 seconds left in the game. It's too much time. You got to get a blockout free throw. You got to go down. You got to make your foul shots. And then that still leaves them 16 more seconds to either win the game or tie the game. So, You only foul, if you're a fouling coach, you only foul with about 3 or 4 seconds left, 5 maybe. Listen, we guarded that exactly the way I wanted to. We had him trapped on the sideline, the ball was loose, and we didn't get the loose ball. And, you know, we panicked a little bit though, because we ran at a guy that was wide open who was just get a 2-pointer. And instead of staying attached to the shooters like we talked about, they kicked it out and the kid made a big shot. And not only did he make a big shot, I mean, if you watch the replay, I mean, Anthony's hand was literally right over the top. I mean, it was a tremendous contest. You just got to give the kid credit, man. He made it play. And, you know, I was disappointed in the overtime. I really thought, you know, that the ball was still in the kid's hand, and, you know, that would have gave us 24 seconds to tie the game, which I would have liked our chances there. And I think if that game goes triple overtime or double overtime, I think it's probably a different story. But just didn't get it done. You know, that's why, you know, we're in a position that we're in. We have to find a way to finish games better.
Both Gabe and Jacoby have shown improvement throughout the year, especially on the offensive side, especially against UTEP as well, it seemed. What do you think has been the biggest reason for that, and how much are you going to have to rely on them throughout the rest of the season?
Well, you know, I think the hardest thing in this day and age with the portal is the fact that, you know, when you bring a high school guy in, you know, he doesn't they probably don't get as much time to people to be patient with them and them to grow into the player. And then a lot of programs, you know, kids are in their first or second year and then they leave. And so you don't ever really get to, you know, reap the rewards. You know, both of those guys are sophomores. They played 10, 12 minutes a game last year. You know, there's still times when they play like, you know, they're young. And there was a couple of situations and instances Saturday, you know, late in the game where, you know, I wish we would have been a little better or made a better decision here or there. But no, I mean, they've both been great for us, and, you know, we depend on them right now, and we're going to have to depend on them for sure for the rest of the year, you know. They're both playing well right now, and, you know, it's hard. You know, you're playing in a great league. You're playing in a league that for the most part is an older league, for sure, a more experienced league. And, you know, I think that the freshmen in this league that are playing really, really well right now and doing amazing things right now are obviously, you know, really good players, and who knows how long they'll be in this league. So, you know, it's tough. I mean, they both have had their opportunity this year for sure. And, you know, we just got to keep getting them better, and we got to keep improving.
How are you guys feeling about the opportunity, just coming off the week you guys did last week and then getting the best team in the Conference USA standings here at home, knowing you played them really well on the road on Wednesday?
Yeah, we have 7 games left. We have 4 at home and 3 on the road. You know, like we always tell our guys, I mean, you can win all 7 games, but, you know, in this league you can also lose all 7 games. I mean, this is a beast. You know, it feels great to have an opportunity to be at home this week. You know, at least for the first game, and, you know, and you get them in your own home, you know, your home court. Hopefully we have a crowd like there was there Saturday night in El Paso, and we had a lot of people there that were representing us as well. But now it's a tremendous opportunity. You know, they're a great team. They're undefeated. I believe they've only had probably 2 close games in conference, and you know, it's out there. We just got to go play well, and we got to execute the game plan, which against Liberty, that is one of the most important things, is executing the game plan.
Kind of bouncing off of that, you mentioned they only had 2. You guys only fell by 2 on the road. And you look at the stats from that game, you guys were pretty much neck and neck. Just looking back, what areas kind of stand out to you as potential difference makers in that matchup?
Yeah, it was a tale of 2 halves. I mean, we've had some of those games this year. You know, we didn't play very well in the first half. I think they were up 17. They hit a 3 at the buzzer to go up 17, and then we came out in the second half and we just played really well. I thought we outplayed them. Our defense maybe turned up a notch like it was on Saturday and last Wednesday. We were flying around pretty good defensively and just did more things that we had talked about doing, you know, as far as scouting report. And then just offensively, we really attacked, got downhill against them, put a lot of pressure on the basket. And, you know, I think those are the things that we're pretty pretty effective for us. Those are things that we'll have to do, even more of on Wednesday. They're playing really well right now. I know they have a lot of confidence. I think they had a pretty good lead on Saturday at home against Missouri State. Missouri State came back and made it really interesting. So, they're a veteran team. I think they have, I can't remember what the statistic was. It was on the screen from when we played them last time. But I think they were top 56 in the country in returning players for this year, and I think we were like 300 and something in the country on what we had returning. So, experience really matters. They have really good players back, and those guys play really well together. They move the ball, share the ball, offensively, and then I think they're underrated defensively. Like most good offensive teams, you don't just win on offense alone. I think their defense is very good. They're smart. They're scrappy. They're tough, and and they're not big and overly athletic, but they do a great job of rebounding the basketball. And I think the key is you've got to hold them to a low possession, so there are more rebounds to get.
How confident are you in Juice to bounce back this game against Liberty?
No, I mean, Juice has been, arguably he's probably been one of our best players, top two players all year long. He's a guy that we depend on. He's one of the leading rebounders in this conference. I think in conference play, he's just a hair under a double-double. He may be right at it. So he'll be fine. He's a little banged up going into that game. You gotta remember when we started changing and playing in this smaller lineup. Now he's playing a lot of minutes, and like right now, I think he's probably averaging more minutes than I've played most players in my coaching career. But he's been instrumental in everything, and I think he did fine on Saturday night. He's a guy that's very competitive. He wants to win. He's a pleaser, and he's also very hard on himself. I think he ended up with 12 or 13 rebounds on Saturday night, and it's not like he had a bad game. And by all means, maybe it might not have been to his standards or the normal standards that he's been playing at, but he did enough for us to win the game on Saturday. It's definitely not the reason that we didn't walk away with a victory, for sure. So he'll be fine, and I expect him to have a big game on Wednesday and be ready to go.
Coach, kind of two questions here. I mean, the last time you guys faced Liberty, it was 3 weeks ago. You mentioned how you've seen a lot of growth within your team in the past 2 weeks. So one question, just what are those major growth areas that you've kind of seen from your squad? And then also, how do you think it's going to give you guys some confidence heading into this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, even though we haven't won as many games that we've wanted to, I think we've played a little bit more with some swagger and a little bit more some confidence. I think our guys are back to really playing defense and flying around and competing. Again, like I said earlier, just didn't rebound the ball. We didn't finish possessions. We gave up 18, I think, offensive rebounds on Saturday night, and that's just not acceptable. Today when we meet for practice, I mean, I've got a whole clip from the last 2 games of, probably 31 possessions where we just didn't block out and finish the play. And that's what it takes. I've had teams in the past that have been great defensively, and but it doesn't matter if you don't finish it with a defensive rebound. So we just got to rebound better. And I think the disappointing thing is probably it's just everyone. I know Juice is averaging a lot of rebounds, but he too, there was a lot of opportunities there for him to get even more by just putting a body on someone. And then our guards just haven't rebounded as well as we've really wanted them to. I think a big part of that is, some of the stuff that we've dealt with early on and just trying to be tougher. Rebounding is obviously it's a tough attribute, and just trying to be tougher and, physical, hit somebody, block out, all those things. I think once we start doing that, if we will, then our defense will even take another step. And, again, we're guarding hard right now. We did everything we needed to do defensively Saturday night. We just didn't get the rebounds and didn't get the loose ball when we needed it.
Can I get your thoughts on Liberty's offense, and particularly maybe once they get into that half-court setting and with their spacing and everything?
Yeah, I know probably everybody is a little bit more familiar with pro basketball than they are college basketball, because everybody watches TV. But I think probably a great example is the really good years with Steph and Draymond And Klay Thompson, where they just shared the ball so well and moved and set screens. Everybody talked about how great Steph is, but he was probably one of the better screeners in the NBA at those times, because that's why he got so many shots. And that's a lot like what Matheny and those guys do. They set so many screens and slip and move, and the ball just doesn't stick with them. They don't over dribble. It takes a high IQ guy. They got a lot of really smart kids, and they play the game. They play the game the way they want to play. Their style and I think it fits their personnel, and coach does a great job. They're very well coached. They got a guy that is a lot like Draymond. Cleveland he's the same kind of guy. He's a facilitator. He's maybe one of their best passers and facilitators, and he's a very athletic rebounder. He can finish around the rim. They just don't have a lot of weaknesses, if any. And you have to execute your game plan to the 10th. You just have to.
Coach, you've had some challenges closing out games. Just what do you think is going to be key to just that late game fatigue with this group?
Yeah, it's not a fatigue thing. I think it's just more of a mental, again, I'm not making excuses. I just think sometimes, you're playing a younger guard, and, it's just learning, trying to learn. It's not easy to make those decisions sometimes. And, we had a couple opportunities the other night that we just didn't capitalize, whether that be an offensive possession where, we didn't exactly run what we talked about running, or getting the ball exactly to where we thought we should get it. And then just, that loose ball, it just plays in my mind over and over again. It's just sitting right there, and we just kind of looked at it for a half a second. And I don't think it was that they out-hustled us for it. It just went to them. Sometimes in basketball, you have to go get something, you have to go make that happen. And it just actually went right to them, and then they made 2 passes, and, they got an open shot. So, I think what happens is a lot of times it's magnified as the last play of the game. That's always magnified, right? What if you did this, or what if you did that? I'm more of a coach that looks at the 2 or 3 possessions before it, like, hey, we had an opportunity here, and we missed a little floater in the middle of the lane. And then, hey, we had an opportunity, they doubled Jamel, and he made the extra pass, and we missed a little, got a little layup blocked. And then, hey, the possession before that, we came down, we talked about the ball going here, and then we took off and we took a bad shot. So to me, it's always more about those 2 or 3 things, because, if you make one of those plays, now the game is a 5-point game and not a 3-point game, and you don't have to depend on trying to get a stop at the very end. So to me, it's just more about just making a play here or there. I thought we did it at Louisiana Tech on Wednesday night, and it was definitely a growth for us. We had a 4 or 5 point lead with a minute or 2 to go, and then we ended up winning by 9. We pulled away right there because we made the right plays. We got fouled. We made our free throws. We did all of those things that it takes, and we just didn't do it on Saturday. The crowd was amazing. I think our guys fed off of that like they do here at the Pan Am. It's a tremendous atmosphere. We got 2 games to go, and we'll play it again here.
It seems like Jamel's been your guy to go to in those late game down a basket, whether it's 2 or 3 points. Some of the shots that come to me from the top of my head are the UTEP one tied at 72 at the end of regulation, and then obviously the one in Lynchburg. He's made a lot of shots. He's missed. That's just basketball, I guess. But just for him, I guess, where's your confidence level in him at this point of the year, knowing what has played out? And I guess, how do you go about that, knowing, just moving forward, keeping his confidence up when it comes to those moments?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, I don't think confidence will ever be a factor for Jamel. I think he's a pretty confident guy. He's a natural born scorer for sure. He's made some shots for us, and there's been some that haven't gone in. I would think though that the last shot of the game in regulation, if that goes in, You know, I mean, that was a chance of a lifetime just because there's 4 seconds left and he literally drove the length of the floor, and to even be able to get a shot off, I thought was pretty incredible. And for one to roll around the rim and fall out and have 2 people falling on you, I mean, it was pretty much a pretty difficult shot attempt, but a shot that he can make and a shot that we want him to take. I mean, I was very confident when he got it. I thought we were going to win, and I'm pretty sure all of our guys do too. I don't think there's probably any, there's probably really no talking or any discussion amongst our guys that everybody knows when in the game's on the line, you know, they want him to take the shot. You know, he got a good look against Liberty. I would take that again on Wednesday night, and got a good shot against FIU. You know, I mean, we've had some of those opportunities for sure. And as you said, he's made some that have also given us a lead, like he did at La Tech. I mean, the 3 that he made at La Tech with a minute left was pretty much the dagger. And in fact, he scored the last 2, 4, 7, 9. He scored the last 9 points of that game. You know, 6 from the free throw line and that 3. So he's been really good for us. You know, I would think if you go over and interview UTEP today, they would probably say they don't want to see him again anytime soon. You know, he played really good on Saturday. I think he was very efficient, 50% I believe from the field, 9 for 18 or 6 for 12, something like that. So yeah, I mean, a confidence thing is, it's not probably something that I would worry about with Mel. He's a very confident dude, and I've been really proud of the way he's competed on the defensive end the last 2 games, and also rebound the ball. You know, he had 6 rebounds on Saturday night, and you know, I think he just given us a great opportunity to win, and we just got to figure out a way right now to finish a game and maybe make one of those shots.
Last question from me. Coach, you might not even pay attention or feed into conference standings right now, but I know you guys are near the bottom of the standings, which kind of adds some urgency to get some wins. But how do you guys plan to kind of attack these last 7 games?
Yeah, just like we've been attacking all the other ones. And, you know, I mean, I look at them every once in a while, but it's not something that I'm stressed about or worried about, because to me, I think if you just keep playing good basketball, you're going to win your share of games. And if you win your share of games, you're going to get in. That's just how I've always looked at it. I've been blessed. This is my 16th year as a head coach. You know, I've made 15 conference tournaments. You know, really the only other time that I was down at the bottom like I am right now is maybe my 2nd year as a head coach. And, you know, we had to win the last game of the conference to get in. I hope it doesn't come down to that this year, but, you know, we just got to keep getting better. We can't sit there and, you know, we can't stare at the standings and worry about who's playing and who we need to lose and who we need to win. We just need to win. That's it. And, you know, we can't look back at, man, we gave that one away on Saturday. We should have won it. It doesn't matter. Now, you know, we got to win this one on Wednesday, and then we got to go on the road. We know we got 3 games on the road. They're all winnable games, just like all of our games are at home are winnable. And I think I said this earlier, but, you know, we got 7 left, and we could win all 7. But, you know, in this league, you could also lose all 7. And I think that's tough. It's a tough league for sure. And, you know, again, my biggest concern right now is that we just keep playing good basketball. You know, we keep competing at a high level, I think defensively like we are, and just touch up a few things, man, just finishing games and also rebounding. If we can do those 2 things, then I think we're going to be okay, and we're going to get in the tournament. And, you know, I've told our guys this, but, you know, you just want to be a team that when you get in, people don't want to play you. And, you know, I think because of what we've shown, even though it's just been inconsistent and it's been up and down all year long, I think we have shown the fact that if we just got together for 3 or 4 days and we figured it out, like we have in bits and pieces this year, that we could win a tournament.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, appreciate it.